السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين محمد بن عبد الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Dear viewers, today we have a special guest, Abdullahi Bamba Kamara, known as Bamba Junior. Today our topic of discussion would be Quran and Science. But first of all, before we get into the program, I would allow him to introduce himself to the viewers. Abdullahi, welcome to Talk Show.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Jasi, for having me here. It's a pleasure to answer to your call, at least to have a discourse in the realm of what Quran and Science. My name is Abdullahi Kamara. Probably they know people call me as Bamba Junior. Thank you for having me, Alhaji Jasi.
Abdullahi, thank you for that short introduction. Abdullahi, when we said Quran and Science, what first comes to our mind? When we say Quran and Science, what first comes to our mind?
Ndela miroto niko Quran and Science ending like this is not a show of showing linguistics. We are spewing facts here. We're going to state obvious. There is not a comparison between Quran and Science. So, and linguistically, and is something that is showing comparison. Like in Arabic, wa. If I say Alaji wa Abdullah, which means Alaji and Abdullah, there must be a comparison between these two. So if we say Quran and Science, which means there are what? There is a comparison between these two. And Quran is very, very divine than science. Quran, as it is being devoted as it's a spiritual book that is being guided to what? Guided by the wordings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So if we say Quran and Science, which means we are comparing Quran and Science. So it will have been, the theme will have been, if we say Quran in contrast to what? Science. Right? So, but nonetheless, we're going to talk about the signs. At least we're not talking about the sign, that is the S-C-E-I-N-C-E in the Quran. But we are talking about what? S-I-G-N. S-I-G-N. That is the signs and symptoms. That is showing the S-C-E-I-N-C signs in the Quran. Yes, there are various verses that have talked about different aspects of science, modern science. That is what embryology, when you come to the Big Bang theory. There are a lot of things that modern science has displayed, which has been discussed already in the Quran, as it has come through symptoms of science to devote to the aspect of what science as a subject matter here. Thank you very much.
Abdullahi, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Now, can we talk about some of the areas, some of the key areas of science, as you mentioned in the Quran? Ngadiamu fanalla milialon ko walen science soldi when it comes to Quran and then science. So for a mole killing ye jaba kesa woto mole nyoto ke killing bondi mole bawo mo jama bije imantara nyunko londing. But saying kachakono the talk show ye killing bondi mole nyoto pour jiber lal min ben jibe kan isena fadal tanu akuwoni kono nyami.
Okay, well, yaje Quran on yeka diama atala fanala. Well, it's true we are not well versed in the Quran. Yes, I don't master the Quran in my head, but at least the little we know, we're gonna share it. Like, people are not that much acquainted with Quran. Like most of us, we have to read Quran at two stages. We read Quran in microcosm and reading Quran at macrocosm. These are two different aspects. Now, if we read Quran at microcosm, that is, ngafoko e Quran o dang podorong karang. Nimole kare Quran o karande. But what is the benefit? Quran no yeta na famine. Right? It termine bondi no Quran o kono. That will lead you to what? Reading the Quran at what? At a bigger stage, that is the macrocosm. This is what the most of the scientists understand. Like when you compare or when you collaborate or you commemorate Quran to that of what the book of natures, there must be so much thing that you will discover. This is why nga nyimol muda bualdi wala jinodi, and if they know Quran much, that is the time they will come and discover more. There are aspects of it. In fact, when Angel Gabriel was sent to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I think that's the first surah that was revealed, right? Iqra. Akanya yakai Iqra mean read. So Molkata as a modern as a mere what mere read, right? But it is bigger than just a mere read, because a vast nada after Iqra me alongo, it needs an investigative reading, not a mere reading. Right? That is an aspect of embryology. That is what formation of a human being. Because human being can form at a 2 stage or 3 stages before even ever born to the world. Right? There are stages in which several verses talk about what the Quran. The first verse that talk about the Quran is development of the human embryology. Human embryo. That is the embryology. That is the verse Quran chapter 21 verse 32. It says, and we made the sky a protected canopy. Sorry to say, Quran chapter 23, verse 13 to 14, it says, we create man from sperm drop, that is the nutfa, and then made him a cloth, that is the alaka, and then a lump, moduga. Quran chapter 23, verse 13 to 14. Now, before even indulging into this verse, there is something that is being used here linguistically. It's saying we. Okay. People will say, these were marala mol mi yalan ko imalla dino nyinna isafa ko okay sen kono ka falo wi ya mana ala killing bije ba
wala ntolu
thank you ala killing ne bije but saying yaje linguistically, if you're talking about linguistic now, let's delve small into that aspect now there are two linguistics two languages, that is the Aramaic language, that is the Aramaic language, the Hebrew, and the Arabic language. When you talk of singular and plural in English language, English having a singular form of plural, that is plural of numbers. But when you go to Arabic and Aramaic, or that is the Hebrew, they are having what? Two plurals, plural of numbers and plural of the royalty proclamations. Like when you go to the Saudis, that is the Eastern, the Arabic part of the world there, King Fahd, when he was talking, when he's addressing the people of Saudi, Nahnu Malik Fahd, Nahnu in Arabic means we. He's talking to people with all his royalty proclamation, what he possesses, right? He said Nahnu Malik Fahd. So Nahnu means we. So he's not saying we as a people or we as what Njamabije, but we anasembo biakadiyambinda. So at first, I discuss well, but nonetheless, the topic is what we call as the Quran and Science. So we manta move back topic ko yunkono. Yundo nga fe na puru mo understand ko. So now we was kana mo so de ka ko we mean for de. But winning is trying to show royalty what proclamation as a plural of what royalty proclamation. So the verse is saying, we create man from what a sperm drop. Now understand ko. Hada ma de ko form no ning ayatara two species don't comes together. That is man and woman. When they come together and have that kind of knowledge of each other, then there must be what praises miyango abitaji. From that now, a sperm drop, that is the nutfa. Arabic language you say nutfa. That is a sperm drop that is being dropped in the what in the female's realm. Let me not delve into that much aspect of it. But we can understand that ko niyo kafoke nyungono. Ke ka fenne ko musoto o muso aka minke musoto aka develop into what that is what we call as nutfa or nutfa aka develop kata min dole kata to the cloth, that is the alaka come I come for subu kunturu ngoti. Then from that aka then to a lump, that is the mudukha. Fine, that is the Quran chapter 23 verse 13 to 14. Now this is trying to explain to us that the stage describes sperm drop, cloth and lump are seen by some as marking the stage of what embryonic development. Right. This is the first aspect in which Quran has studied or has dealt with what science in that aspect. Yes.
Thank you, Abdullah, for that. So, can we now also proceed to another, aspect of relationship between Quran and science?
Okay, there can be relationships between Quran and science, but I think it will be more of ning science tarata Quran
Qur'an
kontan
kono.
ning Quran tara science kono because ngaje ko nka diam book la jam mi yalon ko abuko ning even
Umma ya
even
batu.
ya compare with different aspect of book atele
Atele
fan
be
atele
binya.
kalo as unique one because ngaje ko atele book mi yalon ko it names itself 57 times fongo fo buka ko ar-rahman allama al-quran yasim al-quran hakim ma kana hadha al-quran yuftara min dunillah tanzilun min rabbil alamin it tells you I came from the Lord of the world, so it's not a joke. So if we are comparing any books to this book, we will understand that this book stands as what? As an independent body. There are a lot of stuff that we can get out of this book.
It is in a nutshell, one can say it is a book, that came to salvage the entire humanity.
Entire humanity. Thank you very much for that. Yes. When you talk of salvation, as one of my boy founding Imam La, when you talk of salvation.
Okay.
That dude, when he's talking about Quran, he can understand the realities of Quran is beyond bounds. There are symphonies in which that if you foster on them, you will see the realities of the world. Everything is going to be open to them. So I will advise, let's read the Quran in macrocosm. So in other aspect of what the Quran talk about what? That is the stability, mountain and earth stability. Mountains and earth stability. We say in the Quran chapter 16 verse what? Verse 15. He say, and he has set firm mountains in the earth so that it will not shake with you. So that it will not shake with you. So now understand that this is often interpreted as describing the stabilizing role of what? Mountains in earth's crust. Geographically, there are crust in what? In the earth. We say tectonic, like the plateaus, tectonic plateaus. In an area like when you go to the Fujis, eastern part like Japan and China,
around Indonesians and
earthquake cataract. Thank you. You can understand this art is anchored on something, right? So this is a vast like Qur'ano have talked about this the science aspect. What now? I will advise still, let's read the Quran in what? In macrocosm. Right? So we continue to another about that is the role of what? Iron. Before going to the role of iron, I want us to talk about the protective atmosphere. There are so many spheres in our environment, like we have in the hydrosphere, the stratosphere, the atmosphere. We have in clouds, the cumulonimbus cloud. All this aspect of it are atmospheres that help to protect mankind on the earth. Okay. Direct ultraviolet rays from the sun directly when it hits us, is going to give us when our skins are directly exposed to it, it's going to give us what? Skin cancers and stuff like that. But atmosphere is there at least to retain some of its rays, some of its rays. So there is a verse that is the Quran chapter 21 verse 32. It says, and we made the sky a protected canopy. We know a canopy. Nintara na kulidal do kaya ngamungo. Alfenko dentro fanga jama fan kiwala ngasije pur ngase soto. Ika faham. O said nimpromi pur tiro kana ma. Okay, the atmosphere is serving as that. What nako and we hantai wo winning ala kilimonde. Nkana amira ko jama biji ala kilne biji. And we made the sky a protected canopy. Yet they turn away from its signs. If only I asu de hanobe a portal. So this has been interpreted to refer to the Earth's atmosphere, which protects life by filtering harmful radiation and meteorites. Because in Kajako, like even Namanekunda, or like Islamically, ikafo okay, Jino Mikara Kibarota, Speaker Kibarota Sandoji, Ekalonyo Kam, in Kajako, Fenneka, sometimes Nimbasirin na fen called Gorda in Kajele. Either Lolo also Fen Akatambi. Scientifically, the meteors, they are called the shooting stars. Okay, what can I add? Meteor is a dwarf planet, let's say. It is incandescent due to friction with what? The atmosphere. Scientifically. But Niajibe, wo incandescent due to friction with the atmosphere, Fenne bina miarna, or Fengonyena friction on Yusro. We talk about friction. There must be what? There must be two things. There are about Traka Susanyola. So logically, woman nakatandila comme ça. Suddenly, akaramundol. Akafende ben. Anemi nyata maranyola. Anano maranyola. By force, woman abrogate la. Abajila by force. So this is showing the supernatural powers of the Quran. Quran is very, very divine. So still now I'm advising let's read the Quran in macrocosm. You understand? Okay.
Proceed.
Yes. So in that, I think the last aspect of it, is the water cycle, the most important. Scientifically, any aspect of life, any term, any ideology, Mialon can start with hydro, that is water. Right? So the water cycle itself is being taught in the Quran. I will say in the Quran, chapter 25, verse 48 to 49, it says, "And it is He who sends the winds as a herald before His mercy, and we send down pour water from the sky, that we may give life thereby to a dead land." Najele jaka sero daldo Mialon go. Foye komandiro ke alay. Okay, mol kamera ko okay. Dubai once ya trial ye fengo ke artificial ikafa ko ye fengo like ikafa artificial rain attract. But I mean like it caused a very, very big disaster at Dubai. Dubai afloatale mol people yalone mole mass destruction about the property sold. Ika family. But ninga jibe ni nature takana either destruction of Bikawara in the of artificial destructions. Because is limited to human consumption. Yeah. So saying this verse is seen to describe the water cycle, including the role of wind in carrying water vapor, rain, and the role in sustaining life. So these are the vice me along kami collect nang ngkatandi ko yalon kom aspect me along ko they are signs SIGNE ngkatandi ko symptoms me along ko kafako science nyul tara Quran or Quran nyul for the science ki emanate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abdullah, for that wonderful discussion regarding about the aspect of hydro, that is water. Okay, when you look at Suratul Anbiya, you will realize that ko Allah mentioned ko awalam yaraw anna samawati wal ardi qanata ratkan fafataknahuma waja'alna min al-ma'i kulli shay. When you look at science would tell us that human beings are made of cell, like the unicellular or the multicellular. Okay, the unicellular, those are organisms that have only one single cell, while the multicellular, they are the one that have dual. So when you look at that aspect, you will realize that Quran waka mindia muja wala fengol be data ni jiol bimana fengol la dada kumase dula munung jiol. So wojio science fanang ya itandi mola example like the geographers
hansa me kudu ngajibe even in geofonga aning embryo je kono sana. Okay. Ke kamine ke musoko no is a liquid hansa in geolo. Hansa alak hansa in that aspect is being in the is all embedded in the aspect side. Kodi saying hansa wojio ni na kuma ni kom Qur'an min fe nang in related to science ko le fatan ting ma fe ga fam ko ya fanya min cells from the tissue to a cell to organ to organism, then organ to organism to what? Organ systems. Right? Thank you. There was time and space before we even invented it. Right? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Abdullah, for that wonderful discussion. So before we wrap up the program, what is going to be your final message to the viewers? Topic kumari mbale kachajang miyalonko ajartale mobe faham surtout ni marimu muslimoti inyantaka nying buko fam na miyalonko. It is not just a book. You need to understand the book, in a very broad manner. So what is going to be your final message to the viewers?
Okay, thank you very much, Alaji. Kom nkafanyami ninga Quran karang, let's read Quran at the bigger stage, that is the macrocosm. Because if you read the Quran at macrocosm, you can understand that the Quran contains a lot of meaning as a human being derived at a higher stage. So if the advice I'm going to give to the people, meaning Quran karang, you have to have that immense understanding of the Quran. Because this is a book, it is the only book that has been attested as the purest book. It has not been altered. Because we have seen biblically, there are scientific errors there. Though Mandara Bible also, but I can quote one verse for you. When you come to creation, Genesis chapter 1 verse 16, chapter 1 verse 16, it says, Almighty God create two lights. The greater like the sun to rule the day, and the greater like the moon to rule the night. And biblically, it is said the moon, the source of light of moon, is its own light. But scientifically, we say, okay, moon is a lunar object. They cannot produce their own light.
Instead, they borrow.
Thank you. Or it's a reflection of what?
Light.
A light from what? From sun. You can understand that that is a scientific error in Bible. So, some more advice, no. Let's have to read the Quran. We understand. Ngabukul bondimiya ko iman tarasilakan. Eka faham. Quran is very, very vast. Anything in this world of a derive no in a positive way, go to the Quran instead. Jazakumullahu khairan.
Abaraka Abdullahi, thank you for that. Viewers, this is the end of the program, the talk show. Inshallah, we na kanali like fonyaming nakachala ya fonyaming ntadanna kuma kan kilin language kilin da makambe angale malale anim mandinga kango inshallah ala baraka bake wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alamin.